Holy cow. Are you not entertained? What a week of NFL football. Week 1, there was some sloppy stuff. There were some plays, some penalties, a lot of turnovers, but football is back and I am so excited. This is my first blush reaction to all of these Sunday games. We're going to go through and talk about as many of these as we can. There's something to point out in all of them, and there were some teams that looked way better than I thought they would, teams that looked way worse than I thought they would. But what a week. This is going to be tough to top, and I say that knowing full well we got 17 more weeks of this. This is week 1. This is when teams aren't even in midseason form, and we just saw something like the Dolphins and Chargers game. Oh, this is unbelievable. I'm so excited. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, before we get started, I do just want to touch on the Thursday night game. Lions taking down the Chiefs. Dude, there's no asterisk, okay? The asterisk thing is the dumbest thing I've ever heard out of a sports announcer. Mike Tirico saying that, the Lions win, but there's an asterisk on this because the Chiefs don't have Chris Jones or Travis Kelce. They could have paid Chris Jones. They could have worked that out, so that's on the Chiefs. And it's not like teams don't have to put up with injuries. So Travis Kelce not being there, that's not the Lions' fault. There's no asterisk. The Lions are 1-0 and the Chiefs are 0-1. And I think that is a massive precursor for what this season is going to be. Throw out your expectations. The Lions are here. Chiefs lose week 1. That is crazy. And now let's go ahead and get into the Sunday games. Kicking it off with the Steelers and Niners. Wow. I could not have been more wrong about this game. I picked the Steelers to win in this week's Pick'em video, and wow, the Steelers they were not clicking at all. Kenny Pickett did not look like preseason Kenny Pickett. George Pickens was not as effective as I thought he would be, and it seemed like Brock Purdy was in midseason form. He was 19 of 29. That's bordering on 2/3 of his passes being completed. 2 touchdowns, 220 yards, and no interceptions. He did get sacked 3 times. That's to be expected when you're playing against TJ Watt. But, man, Brock Purdy looked phenomenal. And this Niners team, I doubted them going into week 1. I thought that the Steelers were going to be kind of a dark horse team. But, man, Niners look like they're going to be tough to stop. And then in Indianapolis, Calvin Ridley wasted absolutely no time making this Jaguars offense even better. Trevor Lawrence looked great. Calvin Ridley had 8 receptions on 11 targets. He broke 100 yards in his first game as a Jaguar and scored a touchdown. He had 4 first downs, so he was an effective guy to go to when they needed him. Calvin Ridley is worth the hype. He took this team to the next level. And then on the other side of the ball, Anthony Richardson looked great. He had 10 carries for 40 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. He was 24 of 37 on passing with 223 passing yards, a touchdown, and an interception. But I think all in all, for a really raw prospect that has some cleaning up to do, I don't think this game could have gone much better for Anthony Richardson. I think he did really well. He seemingly got hurt towards the end of the game, and Gardner Minshew came in. Hopefully that's nothing serious, but I'm excited for Anthony Richardson moving forward. I also want to shout out real quick some of the rookies that showed up in week 1. Jordan Addison, Bijan Robinson, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, we just talked about, Trey Palmer, and Tank Bigsby, among more, all got touchdowns in week 1 of their rookie seasons. That is awesome. So mad props to the newcomers. I'm super excited for all these guys to get going. And then we come to Vikings-Bucks. Now, I did pick the Vikings, but as you'll remember from the Pick'em video, I said this game was going to be way closer than people thought. And the Buccaneers came out with the W. So I own that I was wrong 100%. But man, the Buccaneers showed up. And I think that the Vikings are falling into the same trap that they had last year. The Vikings are one of those teams that we discussed having some wins that were maybe not sustainable last year. And I think that showed through today. Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson were good, but truly their main offensive weapon, the main thing that their offense runs through is Justin Jefferson. And he did great. He had 150 yards receiving, but a lot of that came in the first half, and in the second half he was shut down. So they're going to have to figure some things out. I am a little worried about them losing to the Buccaneers, but The Buccaneers are playing with house money. They just lost Tom Brady. They've got nothing to lose. They're just going to come out here, play as hard as they can, and win as many games as possible. And if they come away with a winnable division, then more power to them. But Vikings, you guys have got to show up a little better next week. Over in Baltimore, obviously, I am very sorry to hear about J.K. Dobbins tearing his Achilles. The starting running back for the Ravens out for the season. He was dealing with injuries all of last year, dealt with a severe injury the year prior to that. This guy can just never stay healthy, and it just sucks. I really want to see this offense healthy, and J.K. Dobbins not being able to play the rest of the year. That hurts. That's not going to be fun. On the plus side, that receiving core looked nice for Baltimore. Even without Mark Andrews, OBJ and Zay Flowers were making plays. So it looks like the investment in the passing game for Lamar is paying off. 25-9, that's a decisive victory. Baltimore on the board, 1-0 in the AFC North. Every game is going to be important there. So, good start to the season for Baltimore. So Texans have got some work to do. They did get a pick on Lamar Jackson, so that's good. But, we're not expecting a whole lot out of the Texans. I picked them to be second in the division. Hopefully they can turn some things around and maybe prove me right. Talking about the Ravens, sticking with the AFC North, we're going to go talk about the Bengals and Browns. And you want to talk about a team that looked way worse than expected? Oh my God. The Bengals looked awful today. Just awful. There's a lot of trash talk coming out of Cincinnati, talking about Cleveland is Cleveland, Jamar Chase calling them elves, and then having to eat his words. And, I respect the fact that Jamar Chase is eating his words and was honest. They lost to those elves. So they were just not good. They were simply not good. Weather, is a big factor here, but you can't blame the weather for your team just looking completely inept. Joe Burrow, 14 for 31, less than 50% completion percentage, 82 yards passing. Didn't even break 100 yards passing. On the other side, you've got Deshaun Watson throwing for over 150 yards. Again, not super great, but weather plays into that. Did get a touchdown, did throw an interception. Ups and downs there. Nick Chubb got 100 yards rushing and was clearly the mainstay of their offense this week, and I expect that to continue. But once we start seeing the team kind of get into the swing of things, as the weather improves, hopefully, I do think that the Browns will be up and running even better. Their defense clearly came to play and showed up, like I said, holding Joe Burrow to pitiful numbers. Joe Burrow just became the highest paid quarterback in NFL history, and to hold him to under 100 yards, that is saying something. The Browns showed up and showed that they are ready to compete for the AFC North. And then that brings us to the Cardinals taking on the Washington Commanders. Cardinals did lose, but were in this game. They only lost by 4 points. Get well soon, Kyler Murray, please, because Josh Dobbs, I know he's only been with the team for a matter of weeks, but he ain't getting it done. James Conner did all right, 62 yards rushing on 14 carries. It's not terrible, but I think the main point here is that defense. We had a defensive score off of a fumble, and that kept us in this game. And if the defense can play well, we talked about Washington having an underrated offense. Terry McLaurin is out there, Jahan Dotson, Brian Robinson, and Antonio Gibson in the backfield. We don't really know what Sam Howell is, though he looked pretty good. The fact of the matter is, the Cardinals defense held that team to 20 points. That's pretty good. Again, we're not expecting a lot out of the Cardinals this year, but hopefully this defense with a defensive-minded head coach can continue to be really good and just continue to improve. Maybe once Kyler comes back, the offense can get running a little bit better. And, I don't think this team is quite as bad as everybody thinks it's going to be. Are they going to make the playoffs? No, but that's not the point that I'm trying to make. Saints and Titans was a defensive bout. Not a whole lot going on there, except I really think that DeAndre Hopkins is going to be regretting his decision. In my pick'em video, I said that I'm pretty much out on the Tennessee Titans this year until they give me a reason to think otherwise. And let me tell you, after week 1, they did not give me a reason to think otherwise. Ryan Tannehill did not look good. And DeAndre Hopkins, I forgot he was on the team a couple of times. Whenever Red Zone would switch over to them, I was like, oh yeah, that's DeAndre Hopkins. But I don't know if that's going to go well over there. I think the Saints have got a lot to work out, but Michael Thomas looked like he was returning to form. Chris Olave looked really good. And they're still missing Alvin Kamara. So if Alvin Kamara comes back, that could be a good team. Panthers, Falcons. What is it? Why does Arthur Smith do this? He just seems to love neglecting his first round talent that he's got on offense. And yes, Bijan did get a touchdown. He looked awesome. But 2 touchdowns went to Tyler Algier. I'm sure fantasy managers are just tearing their hair out about that. Bryce Young did, he had some struggles. But he looked all right. He had 146 passing yards. He did throw a touchdown. 2 interceptions is not great. I think the Panthers definitely have some stuff to work through. But I can see the foundations. I can see things kind of working out. I think it's going to be all right. I think the Panthers will be okay. That brings us to the Broncos and Raiders, starting off the afternoon slate of games. And oh my God, Sean Payton, what is it with you and onside kicks? It didn't work out, unfortunately, but give it a shot. Why not? Broncos once again are defeated after only scoring 16 points. This is what happened all of last year, it seemed. 16 points is just their unlucky number. They had a missed field goal and a missed extra point, and they only lost by 1. Kicking is going to be an issue for the Denver Broncos, but Russell Wilson looked much better. He looked like the Russell Wilson of old. So I'm very excited to see what the Broncos are going to look like going forward. I think that they are going to be a much more effective team than they were last year. And then on the Raiders side of the ball, Devontae Adams just continues to produce no matter who is throwing in the ball. Jimmy G got the job done. Won 17-16, went on the road and got the job done. So props to him. Raiders impressed me and continue to hold their streak of beating the Broncos. Sorry, Broncos. Eagles and Patriots. This is one of those games that I said was going to be incredibly easy, but it turned out that was not the case. The Eagles started off really hot, and I thought that, hey, they are going to walk away with this. They had 16 points before you could even blink, both from offense, and they had a defensive touchdown, and then they just really stalled. And again, weather was a huge factor. It was a factor in a lot of games this week, but the Eagles really just came to a screeching halt. They did end up winning this game, but it was way closer than I thought it was going to be. It was a 1-score game, and the Patriots hung in there. Their defense is solid. Mac Jones looks much better now that he has got an offensive coordinator. So I don't think that the Patriots are going to just roll over and die in the AFC East. And I think the Eagles are going to have to pick it up next week if they're going to continue their dominance over the NFC. And then Rams and Seahawks. Once again, a team that I thought was going to be bad, doing really well, and vice versa. The Seahawks lose at home to the Rams, and the Rams missing Cooper Kupp. We all thought this was going to be just a walk in the park. And the Rams didn't even play that well. They had some serious drops. They had some plays where they definitely could have been a lot better, but Seahawks just did not get it done today, and frustrations were very visible. DK Metcalf just absolutely laying a dude out for no reason, far away from the actual play. That's not good, but that's something we've seen from him before, and it's been going on for years. I don't know what needs to be done, but that's going to get him in some serious trouble. I don't have in front of me whether or not he's ever been ejected for something like that, but he has got to get his emotions in check. So super unfortunate for the Seahawks. Rams go up 1-0. Seahawks fall to 0-1. Then, did I or did I not say that the Chargers and Dolphins was going to be the game of the week? I did say that. I did. And then 70 points later, this game was freaking incredible. Oh my God. Lead change after lead change after lead change, bombing the ball downfield. Tons of touchdowns, tons of scores. The Chargers more than doubled their average yards rushing that they had from last year. They rushed for well over 200 yards when on average they didn't even hit 100 last year. Everybody on the Chargers looked awesome, but you just cannot seem to stop Tua and Tyreek Hill. These guys were absolutely insane in this game. I mean, Tua threw for 466 yards and 3 touchdowns. He did have an interception, but that is just elite quarterback stuff. Herbert threw for 228 yards on 33 attempts with a touchdown. He also rushed for a touchdown. Austin Eckler had 117 yards on the ground alone. And Tyreek Hill on 11 receptions had 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. He said at the beginning of the season that he is chasing that 2,000-yard mark, and if he keeps up this pace, he will hit that with ease. He's literally on pace for over 3,600 yards. I know it's after one game, and that's not really how it works, but I'm just saying, oh my God. Now, you could say that this is reflective of the Chargers' defense and that their defense needs to get better. And you would be right. Yes, Brandon Staley is a defensive head coach, and this defense just cannot seem to contain folks. Week 1, you've given up 466 passing yards? That's ridiculous. Now, I did say going into the season that the Dolphins were going to be one of the most explosive offenses in the entire league. So, yes, going up against the Dolphins week 1 is going to make your defense look a little bit worse than maybe it is. However, there are some improvements that need to be made. Careless penalties by guys like J.C. Jackson just obliterating a wide receiver before the ball is even remotely close to him. That's pass interference, dude. You can't do that. But at the end of the day, the Chargers do fall to 0-1. Their offense looks phenomenal. Their defense has got some work to do. I'm very happy with what Kellen Moore has put together. This rushing attack looks just unstoppable. And Miami is 1-0 in a very difficult division. It is a good thing that the Chiefs lost for the Chargers' sake. So, oh my God. The Raiders are in first place in the AFC West, and everyone else is tied for last. Ooh, yikes. The Chargers will be all right. They're going to recoup, head into next week, and I think they will do well. And then Bears-Packers, wow. Yeah, I picked the Bears to win this, and it looks like the Bears are going through their absolute worst-case scenario, worst nightmare possible right now, because Jordan Love looks good. The Packers really might go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love, and if Jordan Love is even remotely the caliber of those other two, Chicago is going to be just, I don't even know. Please contact whoever you know that is a Chicago Bears fan and just, give them a hug. Just give them a hug because they're going to need it. Justin Fields was out there running around like crazy like he does. 59 yards rushing. This guy looks like he is covered in butter because sacks and, tackles they just glide right off of him and just nothing seems to get him down, which is awesome. 216 yards passing. That's more than he was able to do most of last season. So that's really good. But, they allowed Jordan Love to throw for 245 and 3 touchdowns. Ooh, man, Jordan Love looked really good. He looked in control. He looked calm and poised. This dude looked like he's had years to learn behind Aaron Rodgers, because he has. Aaron Jones was effective running the ball, also was incredibly effective catching the ball. Quay Walker came away with an interception, in fact, a pick 6 for that matter. Jaden Reed had a great punt return. The Green Bay Packers just look like they are clicking on offense, defense, special teams. It's going to be tough to stop them. It's going to be, I really thought the NFC North was done dealing with these guys, but they look pretty solid, so Bears fall to 0-1, Vikings are 0-1, and it is the Green Bay Packers and Detroit Lions currently tied for first place in the NFC North. And then we finish off Sunday's games with Sunday Night Football, and I owe you all a very sincere apology, because in my Pick'em video, I made it sound like this game was going to be worth your time, and it wasn't. Yeah, I don't know if the Cowboys are just that good or if the Giants are just that bad, but this game was a landslide from the very get-go. The first drive of the Giants looked like, okay, maybe there's some promise here, even though it stalled out. But after that, I mean, it just all fell apart. There's just, I don't have a lot of good to say about the Giants other than Saquon. Saquon Barkley looks good, and Darren Waller caught a few passes. Man, this game was just an absolute massacre from start to finish. The bottom line is this: the Giants need to be better. And if the Cowboys are actually as good as advertised on Sunday Night Football, then the NFC may need to be on notice. But that is it for the Sunday slate of games. I hope you all had an amazing weekend. Let me know what games you watched down in the comments below and what you thought of the teams participating in them. Of course, week 1 is not quite finished yet. We've still got the Buffalo Bills taking on the New York Jets to look forward to, and that is a game that, well, I said this about Sunday Night Football, but that is a division game that should be really, really exciting. So here's hoping that Monday Night Football is super, super fun, and then it's right on to week 2. Until next time, my name is Andrew. This is Water Cooler Quarterback, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.